Let us resolve to work together under the law to build a Jamaica which will last and of which we and generations to follow may be proud. Poignant words spoken in 1962 by a national hero. Can you guess which one? We'll let you think a little on it. Hello and welcome to another in our series of special programming to celebrate Jamaica, proud and free at 53. I'm Theo, your host for today's show. By now, you should have your answer ready for my question earlier. If you guessed Sir Alexander Bustamante, you are indeed correct. We're coming to you from Blenheim in Hanover, the birthplace of our island's first Prime Minister. Today's program promises to be culturally rich, so please, stay with us.
Gather together, be brothers and sisters, we're independent.
So everybody make we sign the line, celebration again, independent time.
For Independence 2015, the Ranny Williams Entertainment Center is the place to be. From August 1 to 6, the Hope Road location will be transformed into an Independence Village. Come out every day at midday for lots of cultural fun and excitement. Lunch or concerts, cultural discussions, a kiddies village, displays with distinct Jamaican pieces, nightly entertainment, and food can done. For more information, call JCDC at 926-5726-9 or email library@jcdc.gov.jm. Independence 2015, proud and free Jamaica 53.
We jump on the float and yam convoy, pop to Jamaica.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale and this is your GIS News for Monday, August 3. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller used her Emancipation Day message to call for unity from all sectors of society as the government pursues economic growth and development. She also addressed the issues of reparations, human trafficking, and the mass deportation of Dominicans of Haitian descent.
In the Dominican Republic, there's a risk of a mass migration crisis being sparked on Jamaica's doorstep, with major implications for us. In this situation, Jamaica continues to oppose any move to render these thousands of people stateless and without nationality.
In his Emancipation Day message, Governor General Sir Patrick Allen called on Jamaicans to help free the nation from the modern-day issues that seek to mentally and socially enslave us. He encouraged persons to break the shackles of selfishness, corruption, mediocrity, and crime.
We must end the abuse and violence against our nation's children and return to being a kinder, caring society which we once were. We need to free ourselves from the bondage of an anti-informer culture that allows our country to be easy prey for criminal elements.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Andrew Holness encouraged young people to use their freedom responsibly and participate in society to create the future they want.
Let us use our freedom to secure justice for all Jamaicans. Let us hold our government to account for efficiency and growth. Let us use our freedom to ensure education for all our children. Let us use our personal freedom to lead healthy lifestyles. Let us choose to resolve conflicts peacefully instead of by violence.
The Ministry of Agriculture says the tagging of all cattle under its National Animal Identification and Traceability System is now complete. Agriculture Minister Derek Kelly gave the update on Saturday while addressing the opening ceremony of the Denby Agricultural Show. Tagging got off the ground last year and 60,000 heads of cattle have since been properly identified and issued with passports. This is part of a drive to end predial larceny and enforce food safety measures.
We will continue this tagging exercise to include every head of cattle in Jamaica because this is a major plank in enhancing our food safety and traceability systems.
Meanwhile, the Agriculture Ministry continues to implement irrigation programs to aid production in light of the ongoing drought. Among other things, the Agriculture Minister says irrigation projects are being designated for most productive areas, including Comapen and Essex Valley in St. Elizabeth. A $300 million irrigation system will also be commissioned into service at the Ebony Park Agro Park. Its completion in September will bring nearly 3,000 acres of farmlands into full production.
I'm also pleased to announce that shortly we will commission into operation the use of solar power to operate the pumping systems at Ebony Park.
He also revealed that the National Irrigation Commission will be overhauled to better manage water resource and minimize waste.
Also having recognized that there are other highly productive areas which are not ideally suited for traditional schemes, we will be focusing on installing non-traditional schemes such as catchment ponds, microdams, mini dams, and earthen ponds. And we will be enlisting the support of the Cuban government in this regard, given their track record.
And finally, the National Water Commission has extended the first leg of its Cruncher 180 promotion, which gives customers a 60% write-off on bills that are more than 180 days overdue. Persons who come in by August 10 will get the benefit. With that extension, the second leg of the promotion will now begin on August 11. It features write-offs of 50%, while the third leg will give write-offs of 40% from September 1 to 30. The Cruncher 180 promotion is aimed at active and disconnected water accounts, as well as illegally connected water consumers. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Tamar McHale. Thanks for watching.
Some water we drink, please.
Water gone.
But me need water for cook. So how me go wash?
Let's weather the drought. Start conservation measures today. Check for leaks around your house. Opt for shorter showers over long baths. Reuse water to water plants and lawn. Watch the amount of water you and your family use. Try cooking methods that don't require much water. And if you have a vehicle, avoid washing it regularly. Remember, water is as important as the air we breathe. So conserve our water, conserve our life.
I was born in a thatched house and made a success. From humble beginnings to the highest elected office in the land. What an inspirational story. The island's first Prime Minister had an awesome story of success, and so too does our current Prime Minister, from Woodhall in rural St. Catherine to the office of the Prime Minister. We're going to get a tour of Bustamante's birthplace in a bit, but first, a recap of Mrs. Simpson Miller's official engagements this past week.
Prime Minister promises farmers that government will help them weather the drought. Contract signed for infrastructure work in Woodhall, St. Catherine. And government supports Jamaica's team for the 2015 Toronto Para-Pan American Games. With Jamaica House Weekly, I'm Andrea Chisholm. As the island continues to grapple with drought conditions, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller is reassuring farmers that the government is taking steps to help the agricultural sector adapt to climate change. Addressing this year's Dembe Agricultural Show on Sunday, Mrs. Simpson Miller said the issue has been a priority for her administration.
We are now completing a $300 million irrigation project at Spring Plain and Ebony Park in Clarendon. As your government, we pledge to continue to support our farmers to keep Jamaica's agricultural sector strong and growing.
In 2013, government invested $1 billion to complete the New Forest Dove House and Yalas irrigation systems.
In the last 3 years, ladies and gentlemen, we have devoted some 7,000 acres of land and invested $1.74 billion to provide roads, irrigation, drains, and packing houses for farmers participating in the agro-parks.
Residents of Woodhall in West Central St. Catherine are in line to benefit from an infrastructure project in their area. The Prime Minister recently signed a $15.2 million contract for a 4-month project which will rebuild an access route into the community.
This bridge is now to be reconstructed, will include demolition of the existing structure, earthworks, placing of reinforcing bars, formwork on the concrete to box culvert, river protection works, limited base construction and double excavation.
And the Prime Minister visited the United Nations in New York last week. There, she outlined the Caribbean's perspective on peace and security challenges facing small island developing states. In addition to outlining Jamaica's efforts to secure its people and borders, Mrs. Simpson-Miller highlighted the link between security and economic and social development issues.
A limited financial base, weak technical capacity, and inadequate concrete global support continue to hamper our efforts. Stronger global partnerships and more efficient forms of cooperation are needed to help SIDS in the fight against the scourge of transnational organized crime.
The Prime Minister and other world leaders also observed World Day Against Trafficking in Persons on July 30. The Office of the Prime Minister also focused on sport this past week. On Wednesday, Portfolio Minister Natalie Nita-Headley welcomed a $20 million 100-kilowatt solar energy pilot project aimed at cutting the energy bill at the National Indoor Sports Centre.
The transformation of the Indoor Sports Centre into a fully solar-powered facility will mean that all of us will be able to not only utilize it for sporting events, but for entertainment activities as well.
The project is being done under the newly formed National Energy Solutions Limited and the Rural Electrification Program. Mrs. Nita-Headley also showed her support for Jamaica's team to the 2015 Toronto Para-Pan American Games. She encouraged the 8-member delegation led by Alfonso Cunningham to do their very best.
You are an inspiration to all of us in Jamaica. We are accustomed to doing well. We're accustomed to winning, but winning must go beyond just coming first or second, but to be the best of who we can be in our own individual lives.
The team got $500,000 in sponsorship from Supreme Ventures Limited. The 5th Para-Pan American Games are slated for August 7 to 15 in Toronto, Canada. Meanwhile, Mrs. Nita-Headley congratulated the Reggae Boys for their performance at the recent CONCACAF Gold Cup tournament.
We are very pleased to have become runner-up and to have been the first Caribbean team to have made it thus far. We are indeed very proud.
And as the island celebrated Emancipation Day on Saturday, Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller called on Jamaicans to work together in pursuit of economic emancipation. Mrs. Simpson-Miller also weighed in on the ongoing crisis involving Dominicans of Haitian descent who are being deported from the Dominican Republic.
There's a risk of a mass migration crisis being sparked on Jamaica's doorstep, with major implications for us. In this situation, Jamaica continues to oppose any move to render these thousands of people stateless and without nationality.
The Prime Minister also reaffirmed the government's commitment to combat human trafficking.
Our relentless efforts against slavery in any form, past, present, or future, will continue. The Jamaican national sense of outrage against injustice and our history of fanning the flames of freedom will not allow us to condone human trafficking.
And that's it for this week's edition of Jamaica House Weekly. Join us next time for the latest from the Office of the Prime Minister. I'm Andrea Chisholm.
So everybody make we join the line, celebration again, independent time.
Yes, it's Emancipation and Independence time again. Between July 31 to August 6, lots of fun and exciting island-wide celebrations await you. Independence concerts, community church services, festival bandwagons, street dances, and lots more. And guess what? Festival fashion is back. The theme? Bandana with denim, catch the fashion rhythm. So for this festival season, young, old, boy, girl, get your bandana and denim outfits and let's celebrate Jamaica in style. For more information, call JCDC at 926-5726-9 or email library@jcdc.gov.jm. Independence 2015, proud and free Jamaica 53.
Since we get free pop style, make the whole world see.
Now for that tour we promised. Our guide today is the lovely Miss Patricia Dawes, official tour guide at Sir Alexander's childhood home in Blenheim, Hanover. Patricia, thanks for having us.
You're welcome, and thanks for coming.
I am glad to be here. Now, before we get going, tell us a little bit about Bustamante's life here.
Welcome to Bustamante's monument and site. He was born on 24th of February 1884 and died 6th of August 1977, but still lives on in history. He grew up here until he was 20 years of age. 20. He moved to Kingston. And his greatest hour, they had riot.
The posters around us tell us about that.
Okay, he had riot in Harbour Street and Duke Street. And the police came and was going to shoot the people. And he tore his shirt off and said, shoot me. I let my people go free. And he said to the police, you are our brother. And we are your brothers and sisters. We are fighting for you too. So shoot me if you dare.
Okay,
and
cool.
The police couldn't shoot.
Yes, that's a very interesting story. And the pictures on the wall tell us about the continuation of those stories. But this next feature should provide you with more information on that story.
He was a commanding figure, a ruggedly handsome and a stylish gentleman who was very sure of himself. He was born William Alexander Clark in Blenheim, Hanover in 1884. At age 20, he did what was typical of many middle-class Jamaicans like himself, migrate to make a life abroad. For the next 30 years, his adventurous spirit took him to several countries, including Panama, the United States, and Cuba. And during his travels, he changed his name from William Alexander Clark to Alexander Bustamante. In Cuba, the seeds of what later became his lifelong passion were planted as he watched Cuban workers agitate for better working conditions.
In 1933, he was in Cuba. In fact, he left Cuba for Jamaica. And as you know, in Cuba, there were thousands of Jamaican workers in the Santiago Oriente region. And he would have seen the agitation in Cuba in 1933 as Cuban workers, in fact, were in rebellion in 1933.
Upon his return home in 1934 at age 50, Bustamante set up his business in downtown Kingston. This brought him in daily contact with the woe and misery of the Jamaican people.
He goes into the money lending business, and who better to understand the conditions that people suffer than someone who lends money. And this, I believe, must have developed in him the almost hobby of writing letters to the press, commenting on the terrible conditions existing in Jamaica in 1938.
He bombarded the Gleaner, the island's main newspaper, with letters about the plight of Jamaican workers. These letters were regarded as hostile and earned him some unsavory labels such as pest, communist, and usurper. Around September 1937, Bustamante seemed to have taken the decision to be the voice of change for the Jamaican worker. He took his campaign to the street corners and homes all over the island. From Westmoreland to Kingston, Bustamante drummed up support, encouraging workers to protest for better working conditions.
When the workers on the waterfront in May 1938 went on strike, it's a completely spontaneous thing, St. William Grant, an ex-Garveyite, actually approached Buster and said, come and talk to these wharf workers. When he went down to the wharf, the workers were a little bit unwilling to talk to him because Buster was a brown man or near white. But Grant actually persuaded them to listen. And this is how he actually got a toehold into the labor movement in Jamaica.
He was affectionately called Buster or Chief, the champion in the struggle for workers' rights. Those whom he represented stretched from the sugar fields in the west to the docks of Kingston and to the banana fields in the east. and Jamaicans embraced him wholeheartedly.
He had a common touch, and he was very much easy and at home in some back room of some shop, eating saltfish and crackers and whatever, you know, having a drink and elbowing with the people and talking very much at home. Not that he, I mean, he was always the boss, you know. I mean, Buster, I mean, he wouldn't suffer, you know, any foolishness. But he rubbed shoulders easily with people. And you see, man, he was a street man, street corner man, too, you know, loved to talk on the street corners, quite at home.
Buster's determination to represent the workers made him a thorn in the side of the colonial authorities. His now famous battle cry, "Shoot me, but let my people go," made him a hero in the eyes of those he represented.
The chief a come, the chief a come, the chief a come, was the sound all over the land. But them wasn't looking for the Indian. It was a tall, handsome brown man. Anyway, the strike there, Buster name would a call. From Surge Island Estate, the waterfront. But it never mattered to him at all. For the working class had no leader, and him was ready to lead them.
Patricia, thanks for giving us that stimulating tour, telling us all those great stories.
You're welcome, and thanks for coming.
It was my pleasure. Okay. This site is being managed by the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, and it's not the only JNHT site, so without further hesitation, let's get our exploration on.
Here's the story of the British five-star Army General.
For uprooting the lands formerly known as Jamaica from under the Spanish, Major Generals of the British Army that invaded Jamaica in 1655 were presented with hefty land parcels as reward. The vast acreage doled out to one Colonel John Kovach, who, after the heist, retired to a placid life as House Speaker, is situated just outside Old Harbour in St. Catherine.
He was granted over 1,000 acres here.
The memory of many of the army men who got lands as laurels lives on through their names, which are today mostly attached to a mere morsel of the original lot. But in the case of Colonel John Kovach, well, his name perseveres in that and more. Amidst the 1,000-acre expanse he received, he built this.
Well, it's big, and it's really big. It's a bit interesting, on how they built the stuff. Yeah, it's big.
Or did he really?
There's question about when it was built and who actually built it. But some people say it might have been built in the late 17th century, which might have made him the builder.
Another sketchy bit of architectural record suggests it's of early 18th century Georgian mold. And if that indeed were the case, then well, John Kovach would have long been resting in his tunnel crypt, a 2-mile-long passageway where not only his body, but all his gold is rumored to have been interred. Kovach Castle was evidently once the center of thriving plantation life in that section of the parish. The property boasts a number of distinct relics from that era, but some visitors to Colonel Kovach's castle today say the retentions are just a bit too real for them.
It reminded me of what my ancestors must have gone through to build that. some of them would have died. I just feared this morning I was walking on their blood.
However, there are many today who regard Kovach's castle and plantation beyond its historic daily grind. The structure, they reckon, has refused to allow time to belie its grandeur.
You get that space of ballrooms, of a whole different kind of lifestyle.
I just thought of the food layout in there, you know, a lot of pork and a lot of chicken and a lot of goat, and I just thought of, you know, big parties.
Wow, I just like to live there. I think it's an incredible site. If you notice, we had that beautiful breeze up there. Yeah man, I'd live there.
If the facade still allowed, one could enjoy an expansive view of Old Harbour Bay, 4 miles away from the castle's second floor. Its height, it said, was an armament against sea-based ambush from English enemies. Unlucky were the Spaniards not to have discovered and built their own fort at Kovach first, don't you think?
As we say goodbye to Hanover, we invite you to join us tomorrow, around about the same time, when we'll be coming to you from the seat of the executive arm of government, and arguably one of the symbols of political independence. Any ideas where I'm talking? You can kickstart your research by checking jis.gov.jm. To view this and other magazine programs in full, visit our YouTube channel. We're also on Facebook and Twitter and in the mobile app world. On behalf of the team here at the JIS, I'm Theo. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.